What's up, everybody? My name is Josh Cannon. Welcome to a quick little video I'm going to do here, or it might not be so quick. It depends on how deep I get into this topic. I know that a lot of you have probably been seeing circulating around on the internet now that Netflix has ordered, I believe it's 12 episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. For those who know anything about me, I'm kind of into Unsolved Mysteries just a teeny bit. The first successful video I ever had on my YouTube channel was a video comparing the original Unsolved Mysteries TV series with the Dennis Farina revamp in 2006 and how much I hated the revamp. I have a podcast that I do about the show Unsolved Mysteries called Uncovering Unexplained Mysteries. Link in the description to this video. Obviously, I'm rocking the Robert Stack t-shirt and the Robert Stack tattoo. So yeah, I kind of like this show a little bit, so I felt like I needed to weigh in a bit about the possibility of them bringing the show back. Now, like I said before, they've tried to resurrect Unsolved Mysteries before, and I'm sure if any of you remember the Dennis Farina hosted Unsolved Mysteries back in 2006, you will remember what an absolute abortion of a TV show that was. You can literally check out my video if you don't know what I'm talking about. I put a card up here. It'll take you to the video and explain exactly what the problems were with that particular revamp. Now, this revamp looks like it's going to be a bit different because it's not really a revamp. It's almost like a remake in a sense. It is going to be executive produced by Sean Levy, who was executive producer on the Netflix series Stranger Things. Now, that's a good thing. I'll explain that in a minute. And it's also going to see the return of my personal favorites, my buddies, John Cosgrove and Terry Dunn Moyer. I've had some incidents with John and Terry in the past. They sent our podcast a cease and desist letter, which I still have in my drawer here somewhere, because we were using the name Uncovering Unsolved Mysteries in our podcast title, and we were using a thumbnail that bared their logo, and they are very harsh when it comes to striking down anybody who they feel is improperly using their intellectual property. So I've had dealings with them, but they're coming back as executive producers. That bodes pretty well, I guess, although I think they had a hand in the revamp too, and that sucked ass, so I don't know. But the one salvation could be this Sean Levy individual who executive produced Stranger Things. I have always said, and my camera was running out of memory, so I had to delete some stuff. Sorry about that quick cut. But anyway, as I was saying, I always said that if you were going to bring back Unsolved Mysteries, you could still keep that kind of intangible, retro, creepy 80s feel if you had a format like a Stranger Things type show, maybe elements of that kind of show molded into a true crime Unsolved Mysteries type thing. And with Sean Levy behind Unsolved Mysteries, I think it is a match made in heaven, and it's setting the show up to do well on that front. So it's starting out pretty good. But here's where I feel like people need to kind of temper their expectations a little bit. I almost feel like when people heard that Unsolved Mysteries was coming back with new episodes, they had an instant rush of childhood nostalgia and excitement. The thing is, for me, is I tend to be disappointed by and large by remakes and redos because you can capture lightning in a bottle sometimes. You know, you can do things in a certain time period in a certain way to where it is so special that it was amazing for that moment in time, and that's kind of just where it needs to stay. When you try to remake or redo something, you're basically saying, oh, well, that was a proven formula, and all we have to do is just regurgitate it, and we can make that same exact magic happen in 2019. And I don't think that's necessarily always true or hardly ever true. Unsolved Mysteries, the original TV show with Robert Stack, it had these intangible aspects to them, especially the first few seasons. If you go and watch seasons 1, 2, 3, I mean, those are some of the most classic Unsolved Mysteries, not only segments, but just how the show was shot, how it looked, the music, the feel, the atmosphere. It just had this cinematography kind of production value to it that was really special to that show in particular. And that's one of the reasons why the show has remained so relevant and so beloved by so many people even to this day. I mean, the fan page for our podcast has some of the most passionate Unsolved Mysteries fans in there still. And I've said it once and I'll say it a million times, if we were just a bunch of nostalgia freaks and we were only there to relive our childhood, there are so many shitty shows that I would still be like, oh, Full House was amazing, Family Matters was amazing, you know, Home Improvement was amazing. There's so many shows that have not aged well that are just kind of curiosity pieces of the time, and Unsolved Mysteries is not one of those shows. It's not. You can go and watch that show right now and still get the chills, the goosebumps, learn something, feel something. It was just such an amazing show. Second reason why you need to temper your expectations is we can't forget that this man right here, Robert Stack, died in 2003. He was instrumental in the success of Unsolved Mysteries. John Cosgrove, the executive producer, I mean, he's even said in Bob Stack's tribute that he was so instrumental in the success of Unsolved Mysteries and how Robert Stack lended a sort of gravitas to the show with not only his kind of celebrity profile, but his spooky baritone voice that was just, it was like chocolate meeting peanut butter when that man's voice came together with that show and his presence and his sincerity and his professionalism, and he's gone. And that's a huge deal. Because Unsolved Mysteries, without Robert Stack, is nearly a deal breaker. But I'm willing to give it a shot. Let's move on to the next thing, where you might need to temper your expectations. This new format that they're talking about doing is only going to be one segment per episode. One. If you ever watched the old Unsolved Mysteries, do you remember how many segments they aired per episode? It was like 4 to 5 segments, sometimes more if it was a special. So that worries me because they're bringing back the missing persons, the murders, the lost loves, the paranormal. They're bringing all that back, but it's one segment per episode. And now my first concern was, in the original show, you had fan favorites. The murder cases were huge. True crime is a huge genre right now, especially in the podcast world. I got into podcasting in 2016, not even knowing how big true crime really was. Good God, holy crap, that is a huge genre. Whether it be investigation, discovery, or, you know, Netflix shows or podcasts, the true crime genre is really big. So the murder segments are going to get the best views on Netflix. I mean, they just are. And when Unsolved Mysteries chooses to cover an extraterrestrial case, or a case of ghosts, or a lost love, those ones aren't going to do as well. And I feel like they're going to look at the numbers and be like, well, dollars and cents, we need to do the murder ones more, and then it's just going to turn into your typical true crime murder show, which is not what Unsolved Mysteries was originally. It was like an anthology almost. It was, you got 5 segments in one episode, and once you sat down to watch it, you might not have had a huge interest in the UFOs, but you were going to watch it anyway because it was couched in with all the other segments. It was like a ride that you went on when you watched an entire episode of Unsolved Mysteries. You went on the low of the murder and the rape, and then there was, so you're feeling bad about that, and then your interest got piqued and spooked by the ghosts, and then you got creeped out by the UFOs, and then, a woman reunites with her father that she hasn't seen in 50 years, and you tear up. You literally tear up at some of these lost love cases, even though they're my least favorite segment. I'll be the first to admit, if I actually sit down and watch a lost love segment, it grabs you by the heartstrings. It was a whole experience watching the show from start to finish. Now they're only doing 1 segment per episode. Like, I don't know about that, man. I really don't. I mean, I'm reserving my judgment. I mean, this whole time I should say I'm reserving my judgment, but that's another thing that's going on with the new show. We don't know who the host is, if there's even going to be a host. Another point is, you know, for me personally, and I don't know, maybe you can agree with this, maybe you can't. I just personally have too much connection to the 80s and 90s. Nostalgia-wise, to look at this new Unsolved Mysteries like it's truly canon to the original Unsolved Mysteries. This could be a great show in and of itself, but to say that you're going to be the new Unsolved Mysteries is just an impossibility, because though I did mention all that previously about how we're not watching Unsolved Mysteries just for the nostalgia is a pretty big part of the equation. I mean, when I watch Unsolved Mysteries and I see the old cars, how people dressed in the 80s and 90s, the old stores, the old kind of way that they would describe the cases, and the complete lack of any kind of hashtags or trying to be cool or trying to be modern or trying to be hip and appeal to the kids. Because Unsolved Mysteries was never a show that was trying to appeal to kids. It was appealing to older people, if anything, back in the time. I feel like the time slot and the perceived demographic for true crime back in the 90s was elderly people. They liked that stuff. So the show didn't talk to you like it was trying to pull one over on you. It was a very genuine show of the late 80s and 90s, and I love that feel. And the new Unsolved Mysteries might not have that. It's going to be very difficult. Now, Stranger Things did a great job capturing the feel of the 1980s, so maybe they can pull it off. I'm not raising my expectations. My expectations are low, and that's where yours should be. Don't come into this with high expectations. Be glad that they're doing it. Yeah, absolutely. That is fantastic. They're trying something new. Why not? And watch it. But I would say just look at it as if it ends up being good, just look at it as if it's a good, just kind of new show that's standing on its own that happens to have the same name, Unsolved Mysteries. Because as I mentioned before, no Robert Stack. We're not in the 90s anymore, and you know, that intangible feel of cinematography, you know, it might not be there. Robert Stack definitely won't be there. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Just keep your expectations low, but make sure you do watch, because if it does turn out to be a good show, I'm sure ratings apply on Netflix just like they applied on regular network TV. So you vote by clicking play and giving it a good review or giving it a thumbs up. I don't even know the rating system on Netflix anymore. But let's keep our fingers crossed that they don't fuck it up this time like they did the 2006 one with Dennis Farina, and just go in with, you know, open minds, I guess. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this. Obviously, a lot of you on my YouTube channel either came here from the Unsolved Mysteries video or from the podcast. So, what do you think? Do you think that this is going to be a good show? Do you think it's going to be crap right out of the gate? Do you think there's no hope for it to be a good show? Or are you kind of like me? Low expectations, iffy about how it's going to be? Let's see what you have to say in the comments. Anyway, this ended up being a long video, as I kind of figured it would be. Have a good rest of your night.